This is in no way my attempt to justify my comic book obsession. And this story, I really, really like. Artwork, the storytelling. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Pull List. My name is Travis. Let's talk about the Spider-Man Homecoming casting rumor about Mary Jane Watson. The rumor deals with actress Zendaya Coleman, who just goes by Zendaya, who's been in multiple Disney properties, a movie, and she was even in Taylor Swift's Bad Blood music video as Cutthroat, which I thought was kind of cool. It was reported that Zendaya was going to be playing a lesser-known Spider-Man character, but it's been rumored recently that she's actually playing Mary Jane Watson, which would make sense for the studios to want to pull out all the stops and involve Mary Jane Watson in these movies because she, as a character, has a big draw, and it would be really interesting to see her evolve from a high school student onward. So Mary Jane Watson might not be a redheaded white girl, and the internet exploded because yet another one of their beloved characters had their backstory changed from the original comic book. But this isn't the first Marvel property to have a change in race from the comic books to the big screen. The Daredevil movie, like it or not, had the Kingpin, who in the comics was a white guy, and in the movie was portrayed by Michael Clark Duncan. Idris Elba as Heimdall, Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm. This isn't anything super new. Also in Spider-Man Homecoming, Liz Allen, Ned Leeds, Flash Thompson. In the comics, they're all white, but in Spider-Man Homecoming, they're not going to be played by white actors. And just a quick note, the Affleck Daredevil and the recent Fantastic Four movie, they were not great films. Okay, they weren't even good films, but it had nothing to do with the skin color of the actors involved. But this Mary Jane thing, oh boy, there are a lot of people who have very strong opinions. And if you're one of those comic purists who believes that Mary Jane Watson should be a white girl with red hair and meet Peter after he graduates high school, then spoiler alert, the 616 comic book universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe are parallel universes. And if you don't understand what I mean by 616 universe, then you're not nerdy enough to understand why you shouldn't be upset at that. So if the rumors are true and Zendaya is playing Mary Jane, then Mary Jane will not be a pale white girl with red hair. Although I did see a comment somewhere about how a girl was saying that there have been African American descent natural born redheads, which would be kind of interesting, but because of the leaked photos that were released of her on set, I doubt that's the kind of Mary Jane that we're gonna get, if she is even playing Mary Jane. Oh, and in that same thread of comments, someone said that Mary Jane could be played by a black actress if Martin Luther King would be played by a white guy. Oh boy. First off, I think he means Martin Luther King Jr., unless he wants to see Martin Luther King in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And secondly, does anyone know who owns the rights to Martin Luther King Jr.? Is it Marvel? Is it Fox? Oh wait, that's right. He was an actual living person and not a comic book property. Martin Luther King Jr. was a real life person. But for the sake of this argument, let's pretend that Martin Luther King Jr. was a comic book property, just created, and he wasn't one of the most important historical figures of American history. He was a Baptist minister and he was an activist who was a leader in the African American civil rights movement. He became the spokesman and the leader for the Montgomery bus boycott after Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. He was assassinated by known racist James Earl Ray. Martin Luther King Jr. lived the life he did and died the way he did because of the color of his skin. If he had been white, his I Have a Dream speech would not have been as well received. But let's take a more comic-y approach to this discussion. Do I think that every comic book character would benefit by switching races every now and then? Not necessarily. James Gunn came out recently after this whole Mary Jane rumor blew up and said that if skin color or hair color of a character is what makes them iconic, if that is their primary attribute, then that character is shallow. Though I do believe that there are a handful of characters that benefit by being their original, specifically written race. Miles Morales, the Spider-Man from the Ultimate Universe, is of black Hispanic descent. Kamala Khan, the new Miss Marvel, she's of Pakistani American descent. Black Panther is from Wakanda. These characters have important character traits based on their heritage and ethnicity. It's true that Mary Jane was created by Lee Ditko and Ramita as a white character, but in 1965, a comic book company would have considered it unlikely to have that many black students in the same school as their white protagonist. It was a choice based on the social reality of that time, which is no longer the social reality of our time. When I was a kid, I used to live in New York. I never lived in New York City, but I visited a couple times, and one of the things that I loved about New York City is how diverse diverse it is. There are so many different kinds of people everywhere. It's a melting pot of different ethnicities and cultures, and I feel that Spider-Man, seeing as how Peter Parker lives in New York City, could do well to reflect something other than 98% white, which is what I feel like we've been seeing in all 5 Spider-Man movies thus far. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you know anything about Zendaya's acting career, and how do you feel about her being cast as Mary Jane? Do you know nothing about her, but are you at least a little bit hopeful, or do you just not like it at all? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, that's it for this episode of The Pull List. As always, my name is Travis. Thank you for fueling my comic book obsession, and you will see me soon. Nope, that's it for this episode of The Pull List. Forgot that. Anyway, that's it for this episode of The Pull List. Thank you for... I always butcher this ending. I never show you guys this, but I always butcher this ending. Okay. Anyway, that's it for... There you go.